What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today when I talk to you about SoFi, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really happened and how the options is really pointing to SoFi being above $12 after the earnings. So I'm going to go over all that. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go up 1.19%. It was able to hold that very strong support. So I'm going to talk on that once I go over the technicals. After hours, it is going up slightly. And that is as a result of Visa earnings. They haven't had their conference call yet, but the tentative numbers are fairly good. So I've kind of said in the past that American Express and Visa, their earnings is really going to affect and influence SoFi. And then tomorrow as well, we do have the good old PCE numbers that is due first thing. So we'll have to wait and see what comes from that, because a lot of people and the broader market are going to take these PCE numbers and try to figure out when the Feds are going to be cutting the rates, whether it be sooner or later in 2024. Today though, there has been no news from SoFi, no SEC filing, so it's just been kind of radio silence. Nothing really wrong with that. There's 1 day away, so Friday is going to be the last business and trading day before SoFi's hopefully epic earnings. But despite it being 1 day away, you do see shorts just all over the place. So shorts did increase 261.08 thousand shares, 13.59% of the free float is being shorted, 121.64 million shares overall are being shorted, cost to borrow average is 0.75, and you do see this manipulation back at it. So cost to borrow minimum is negative 0.2%, meaning there is a broker out there for whatever reason is really trying to incentivize people to short SoFi. And by it being negative, that means that broker is paying people to short SoFi. So kind of backward stuff. In my opinion, there was a fairly good analyst rating that came down the pipeline. So it shows yesterday, but came out early this morning. So Jefferies with a $15 price target. And plus, John does have a relatively good success rate, so 60%. So overall, I do feel like that is a fairly good thing. But once again, obviously it just gets brushed under the rug as what it normally does time and time again. A lot of the negative ones just are the big panic mode ones. So hopefully after SoFi's epic earnings on Monday, you're going to see a lot of these turn to maybe the high teens or potentially 20s. That might be a little bit too optimistic, but who knows? Hopefully that does come down the pipeline. And over and above that though, I just wanted to briefly talk on options, because when it comes down to options, a lot of people like to use this as a sentiment. And so for today, $5.46 million in calls were purchased, 2.5 million in puts. Sentiment wise, 46% of all the options being done today were optimistic, and of the call options that were purchased, it is anticipated for it to be above $9. So that's kind of based on that grouping right there. And you can see February the 2nd, so that's the strike price that's going to encumber their earnings. You see 67,000 options that was purchased at that $12 strike price. So that is huge. So a lot of people, for whatever reason, big money, is under the impression that it will be above $12. And normally, especially based on that volume, I would say that was shorts, but very little were actually increased today, because I've said in the past, shorts typically like to hedge with call options. So sometimes it skews the numbers, but that stands out. Someone really does feel that SoFi is going to be above $12. So kind of impressive, but then again, options activity is just more of a sentiment. It does not move the stock price. But I do feel realistically, given the circumstances right now and what they've disclosed in the past, it should be at least at $9, potentially even $10. So if they do come out with some pretty good earnings, good future guidance, yeah, $12 could be very much easily justified. So let me know your thoughts on that. Looking at puts though, it is anticipated for it to be roughly sub 750. So that's kind of a more of an optimistic viewpoint. So the risk versus reward has shifted to more of a positive tone for that. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So only one big one, 1.78 million. Aside from that, kind of mixed overall. And like I said, it did bounce off of a very strong support. So with it closing at $7.65, it is trading between this pivot and this R1. So 750 52, that was the very strong line in the sand, a very strong support. bounced off of that, and that was kind of the saving grace today. A lot of the growth stocks did get hammered quite significantly, and then $7.76 is going to be that next strong resistance, and conveniently that was roughly the high today. So literally it was just range bound between these 2 points, so the pivot and this R1. In my opinion, I feel like it's going to be the PCE numbers that really do dictate whether SoFi is going to continue and have this FOMO rally above this, so break this 776, or if it's very negative, potentially break this pivot point. So we'll just have to wait and see how tomorrow does pan out. And looking right here, so number of retail investors have been getting in. Like I said, maybe more of just a retail driven FOMO rally leading up to their earnings. Maybe big money hasn't necessarily been getting in, or unless they're waiting until tomorrow. And then stochastic, you do see it at 26. So it's kind of somewhat neutral for that, and no defined trend. So as of right now, I feel like there's a lot of bullish sentiment behind the scenes and data points to really justify for SoFi to go higher. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoFi? Today, I did sell some puts at the 750 strike price for this upcoming Friday, because I feel like just SoFi is being manipulated down. If it does break below 750 as a result of PCE numbers, then whatever, I'll buy more shares at 750 because I feel like with their upcoming earnings, that should really propel it a lot higher. And then vice versa, if it just goes up tomorrow, then I'll collect the premium. So it's a win-win. Highly suggest researching options if you haven't already. With all that, I appreciate all of you watching, and let's all make a ton of money on SoFi.